Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we are going over the safe places to shop on the pre-loved market. If you're new here, my name is Katherine. I'm your resident pre-loved luxury expert. I work in the resale market and I've done this for a very, very long time. And if you're new to my channel, I provide tips, tricks, and insights into the pre-loved luxury market so I can help you guys make more informed decisions on some of the things that you buy, especially as related to resale. So today we're going through a couple of platforms and businesses and stores that I recommend, a few that, perhaps I don't, and everything in between. We're gonna go over pros and cons. We're gonna go over why I like some of them and why a couple of others are maybe a little bit better. If you have any questions or if there's anything you feel like I missed in today's video, please leave me a comment down below in the description box. First and foremost, here at KWSHOPS, we are an authentic only zone. This channel is centered around the purchase of authentic designer handbags. Authenticity is something that's very important to me, but that doesn't mean you're going to necessarily have to spend a fortune. One of the hallmarks and the places that I will recommend is that they have a good reputation as regards to authenticity. Now, obviously, we're talking about authenticity. There are going to be some items over the course of a business operating that will slip through the cracks. To me, what's important is the frequency with which that happens and how the company rectifies it. You're going to want to look for places that accept all of the major payment platforms. That's one thing that I take a lot of reassurance in as a buyer. But this is just in case anything were to go wrong. You're gonna wanna make sure and look for return policies and be very clear about that before you make your purchase. Really also do like requesting extra photos or maybe some type of assurance that the item that's being sold to me is actually in the possession of the seller in whatever capacity. And by the way, if you are enjoying this video and you want sort of an in-depth comparison for all of these sites on the other side as sellers, then I did that video maybe 2 years ago, and I think most of it still stands, is still current, so definitely check that out. I will leave that video link down below. It's the seller's guide for all of these apps and businesses and websites. What you're gonna notice in this video is that, as we go to lower and lower tiers of safety and cushy transactions, that's where you're going to find a lot more steals and deals. And I think it should be pretty obvious as to why, but that is just something to take into account when we're looking at some of our favorite luxury sellers. When it comes to luxury goods, especially that you're spending potentially thousands on, I do think that's very important. That's not something necessarily that you want to skimp on. The risk of getting a fake at some of these places is a lot lower, and that is something we end up paying for in the end. I hope you guys get some insights out of this video. If you had any questions about any of these platforms or businesses and stores, then do be sure to comment them down below. Let's get started. First up, we're gonna talk about Fashionphile. Fashionphile is first on my list because it actually is my favorite place to shop. Fashionphile has been in business for over 20 years. They actually got their start over on eBay, which eBay, by the way, is also on this list. But they got their start on eBay in the late 90s, and I would say that they are probably one of the more popular and larger resale destinations. They source items from all over the country and all over the world. Their inventory is constantly updated. I think 5 or 6 days a week there's new items on the new arrivals page. Their new arrivals page is definitely something that I've had to get out of this habit, but I used to just wake up, see what was on the Fashionphile new arrivals page, and then go on about my day. You'll find a lot of unique pieces there, but they're also really great at having the top tier of the moment, most coveted and most highly sought after bags. You can find anything from the Birkin for over $40,000 to the newest hottest Chanel bag that you can't find anywhere in stores. All of that will be on Fashionphile, but there's a catch. The catch is that a lot of the time on Fashionphile, and this is me being very honest, their prices can be a bit inflated, but I will say that their pricing is entirely driven by demand. If you're shopping for something that is highly coveted and highly sought after, rectangular mini Chanel bag in one of the new iridescent colors that everyone's going nuts over online, expect to find that at double the retail price. They will have it, it will be available, but you are paying a premium for things like that. Not everything is priced like this, so a lot of the things that I like to buy, for example, are not necessarily the most sought after it item of the moment, so that's where you find a lot of the deals. There is a discount section. Things go from between 5 to 30%, and then they move over to their outlet section, and there's a whole bunch of great ways to find deals there. Transactions are very easy. They take all of the major credit cards. They also have Affirm. I did a video about Affirm. If you wanted to check that out, I'll leave it linked down below, and I do have an update coming up on that as well, so stay on the lookout for that. Fashionphile offers a 30-day return policy. The return policy may be different for items if you get them on the outlet, but I will double check and verify that. Information will be linked down below. They also have the sell to buy option that if you want to switch out something in your wardrobe, they will give you a 10% bonus. Keep your earnings within Fashionphile that you can use as a gift card. You get a 10% bonus for using it to purchase something else. Now, I do want to warn you to be careful about that. If you do return the item that you purchase, funds are transferred back to the original mode of payment. It does stay on a gift card. So once it's put on the gift card, it's on the gift card forever. They have, in the last couple of years, partnered with Neiman Marcus. You can now pick up your items in store. You can also drop items off that you intend to sell there. So, you know, I live not too far away from Ball Harbor where they have a Neiman Marcus, and I can make like a little like event, like lunch day out of it. And I really think that among all of the places that I'm gonna be talking about today, their transaction is one of the most like hassle-free. They make it so easy for you to put an item down on what they call reserve. You know, here we call that layaway. All it takes is a 25% deposit, and then you have 60 days to pay off the balance. It's super fair, it's super easy. You can pay it off in any increment that you want. I think as long as it's over like 50 bucks. It is just like a no-brainer. You have 60 days, which is 2 months to pay off whatever balance, and it makes it like really easy to understand like what you're like realistically in your mind able to afford. Now to do that in reverse, they have Affirm. I'm going to talk more about Affirm in another video to come because I have some updates. Fashionphile, I think, has the most comprehensive authenticity checks. Fashionphile, as well as all of these that I'm going to be talking about, have money back guarantees. That's very important. They also accept payment methods that have some level of consumer protection. In Fashionphile's case in particular, they also offer 30-day returns. Very safe, very smooth. You know, if you want to pay for an item over time, that's the place that I would recommend you going if you don't want to use Affirm as an option. Fashionphile will have discount codes. I would say it would tend to be around the holidays, but generally speaking, they don't do them too often. They do discount their items just based on how long they've been sitting there, but as far as like additional discounts and discount codes and things like that, they're not so common unless you get around the holiday season, which we just passed. And I could sing their praises until the cows come home, but we're gonna have to move on. So the next, and I would say arguably this is probably the largest of like luxury pre-loved shopping platforms, and that is the RealReal. The RealReal sells everything from clothing, homewares, accessories, obviously designer bags. They do both women's and men's. They also have something available at every price point and at every budget. I actually bought this top from the RealReal. This is from Reformation. I think I got it for like 30 bucks. Spend as little as $15 and as much as $15,000, depending on what your needs are for the day. Not only do they have a huge, and I mean huge, selection of all different types of items. Search functionality is really great, so if you're looking for something very specific, you can, you know, dial it back to say, I'm looking for a pair of Gucci sandals in the color silver in a size 9 or 10, and you're able to just really narrow those search results down, and it's usually going to populate you with something. So the app is really easy to use for the RealReal. I think it's the best among the ones that I'm going to be talking about today. You can keep everything in your obsessions folder that you like, that you just happen upon, and then you can also set up to get email alerts when some of those items are discounted. You can keep track of all of your orders, all of your sales, all within the app. But as far as like the actual like buying and transaction process, it's really easy. When you are shopping for bags and accessories on the RealReal, one thing I do think it is pretty crucial for you to know is that they are using like computer renderings to do like when they put the bags on the mannequins. So you're not necessarily looking at like an exact representation of what the size is going to be. So, you know, with certain bags, it's pretty obvious, but it is like annoying sometimes. Like, let's say you're shopping for like a Givenchy Antigona and you can't tell if it's the small size or the medium size, and you really can only grasp that when it's like on something that you can use as a reference point. That's something that if you're buying a bag or something like that, I would maybe call customer service about and see if you can get like a mirror pick out of somebody. So one thing that's great about the RealReal is the discount codes. There is the 20% off code REAL that you can put on most anything. It's going to be anything that is full price or any new arrivals. They will exclude like high ticket items and like really highly sought after items. So if you're looking for like a Chanel flap, a Louis Vuitton Neverfull, a Birkin, you may not necessarily be able to use the 20% off code there. Generally speaking, the type of stuff that I shop for, the coupon code is usually valid. The other thing that is excluded are things that go on sale. Anything that is already discounted isn't eligible for another discount. But what they do sometimes is they'll give you like a store credit when you make a purchase over a certain value, and you know, sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but in my account they just like throw in a random store credit because they know I'll use it. At this point, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you how many orders are in my account for the RealReal over the course of like 6 or 7 years. Definitely subscribe to their emails because they will tell you when things have been reduced sometimes, as well as just randomly give you a coupon code for like $20 off. Those you can use in conjunction with the 20% off discount. Word from the wise, you want to let them send you the spam emails because it definitely pays off. Returns are typically not accepted on bags. That's where they are like a little bit below, I would say somewhere like a Fashionphile, and I'm gonna put an asterisk on the returns not being accepted because that is to say they have an authenticity guarantee. If there is anything that, you know, goes wrong with your transaction or it's not as described, you can always just give a call or an email, shout to the customer service, and they will help you. If for some reason you get something and it is not authentic, which unfortunately is a possibility. It's not common by any stretch of the imagination, but I just can only imagine like the thousands of things that they like intake on a regular day. And some of those things, when you think about the scale and scope of how big some of these companies are, they will fall through the cracks. However, it is very rare. I once bought a wallet as a gift, actually, a few years ago. It had a little tear that just wasn't described in the listing, and they ended up giving me like 20% back as credit. Now, while the listing and the transaction, and I think that the just general design and user interface of their website and app is flawless, I do think there does leave something to be desired when it comes to the listings themselves. I wish they would include more photos, especially of the handbags. Like sometimes you do like to see like more detailed specific photos of like the corners, etc. Now that is to say, just like I mentioned earlier, you can call customer service and they can like email you more photos of whatever it is that you'd like to see or that you're requesting. So I definitely recommend that you do that. I sent an email once about a pair of shoes asking like how they run, and they were able to help me. So overall, I've had great experiences, very few negative experiences, and it's definitely worth checking out. So now we're going to do eBay. So eBay is the oldest selling platform on this list. eBay got its start in like 1995, and has been the place for not only designer resale but just general selling on the internet since the beginning of, you know, the internet. And I think that's very, very cool. It has definitely improved over the years. There was a time when shopping on eBay was not so safe, and I think those days are largely behind us. Probably at this point, most people who sell on eBay are businesses. That's just what I come in contact with, at least in the like luxury space. It's becoming less and less common to see regular people who don't run resale businesses or businesses of a sort on the eBay platform, which I do find very, very interesting. That is definitely a change within the last decade. So one thing I love to shop on eBay for is vintage. When you're looking for like vintage Louis Vuitton and a lot of different other ones, you can find a lot of that from the Japanese sellers over on eBay. I think overall they're very reliable, but you may want to get them authenticated independently. That's one of the only places I think nowadays, especially because this market has gotten so much more popular. I think prices have gone up a lot in the last couple of years. But if you want to find deals, the deals to find on vintage LV and a lot of other things are over on eBay. So prices are great. I think the transactions are very protected. You may want to experiment with third-party authentication. And announcement, here in 2022, I'm going to be offering my services out there. If you want some help on that, you can just send me an email. I'm going to have more announcements on that to come. Some sellers will offer returns. Like I said, those are the ones usually operating as businesses, as opposed to like private sellers. It's easy to contact sellers if you have any like further questions. I always recommend doing that, especially on platforms like this. I would also do that just to make sure the item is still available, because you never know if you want to see any more angles or details. And like I said, maybe it just would make you feel a little bit better that they actually do have the item in their possession. Now, the types of listings will vary on eBay. Some things are buy it now, some things are up for bid, others you can make offers. I do find that with the bidding, I get a little bit of an adrenaline rush. This may not surprise you, but I used to have an eBay bidding addiction, so that could be something to wrestle with if you're a shopaholic like myself. But otherwise, I think eBay is great. It is the largest and most well-established. I'm sure that all of you have an eBay experience. Share yours down below in the comments. I'd like to like see what yours have been, because overall mine have been fantastic. Of all of these on this list, the one I have not used is Tradesy. I've used it up and down, backwards and sideways as a seller, but I think I've only bought like one item on it a really, really long time ago. However, it is pretty straightforward. Tradesy is great because there is a really huge selection. Whenever you're looking for anything, they do pop up in Google search, so you probably do see that a lot when you're looking for something very specific. Sometimes their prices can be, they're a little too optimistic for certain things, so I generally tell people not to use this as like a reference point when they want to sell their items, but just do make sure and do your research when you are looking for certain things. Tradesy is a peer-to-peer selling platform. Anyone can just input any price that they want, so just be aware of that. It's really easy to message sellers if you have any more questions about the items. One thing that's great about Tradesy though, that most of these other larger platforms don't have, that is coupon codes. Pretty regularly, Tradesy will throw out a like 10% or 15% off site-wide. Tradesy has an authenticity guarantee that is very, very important. The sellers have to represent their items correctly, and one thing that's very different about Tradesy as opposed to any of the other peer-to-peer sales is that Tradesy offers returns. Now, I forget what the exact number of days are. I think it may be like 5 to 10 days after they've received the item, but that's definitely something unique about Tradesy as a peer-to-peer selling platform. I have my own thoughts that I've talked about on this issue. We don't have to get into it. I would say try to use it sparingly and try to like ask as many questions that you may have, as well as for more pictures and just more information before you complete the transaction, just to be on the safe side. Poshmark is humongous. Luxury or non-luxury, Poshmark is definitely a place where you can find anything under the sun. It started with women's fashion, but they now do children's and men's. There is like sort of a separate like section for luxury goods and more expensive goods. What's great if you are shopping anything over $500, it automatically gets sent to their head office for authentication and to just review the item. I have used that once before. I want to say that it's great that they do this, because the unfortunate side of this is that there are a lot of fakes. Now, what I will say though is that they're pretty upfront about it. This is not necessarily a platform that I like to use for luxury goods specifically, even though I definitely have made a couple of purchases when I find the right thing, but Posh isn't necessarily like my like go-to destination when I'm looking for like, you know, something like over $500. I have gotten very lucky with both this bag and this one right here. Both of them I found at great prices. Obviously both completely authentic, no issues or anything. But just know that there's a lot of crap to sift through when when it comes to counterfeits on that platform. I would say it's pretty easy to like recognize them, or at least it is for me, but I've been doing this professionally for a long time. Even though they do offer the verification from their warehouse, I would definitely recommend having an authenticator look over something if you're really serious about getting it. Overall though, I love Poshmark because you can bundle listings together if you're getting something from the same seller. It's really easy there to make an offer on something. Poshmark is great because you can buy anything there. You can buy a Topshop there, you can buy Hermes there. It is a huge platform that sells a lot of things at every single budget. One thing I do want to warn you, when you start getting into these peer-to-peer selling platforms, and I've said this from the beginning, no trades. Do not use these platforms to trade. I've looked into the ways in which most people get scammed on websites such as this, and that is by trading. Don't trade an item for another item. Just remember that these are strangers on the internet. Use money. Trade them money for the item. How about that? Overall, Poshmark is a very fun place. It's great if you want to sell some of your own items out of your wardrobe and just to get a little bit of extra pocket money to put towards your next purchase. Like maybe you are saving up for like a Louis Vuitton bag. You can go in to Poshmark and sell your H&M and your Forever 21 and your like Steve Madden shoes all within one app. With places like the RealReal and Fashionphile, they only accept the top designer brand names, lower and less expensive items if you have them in your wardrobe that you would like to get rid of towards your future purchases. I think that's a little like side benefit of the platform being as big as it is. But the main takeaways I want you guys to know is A, don't trade, and B, beware of fakes because there's a lot to sift through. So you have to kiss a lot of frogs. I am updating this video to include Instagram sellers because in the last couple of years since the you-know-what happened, there has been a proliferation of Instagram luxury resale platforms happening like during live streams and through posts and everything like that. And it's just something that I do want to touch on. One thing I do really appreciate about it though is that during the pandemic, when the entire world shut down, this was one way to be able to support the small businesses because it was like the barrier to entry was relatively low. Honestly, this could be a video unto itself. So one thing I will say is that every account and every business that you're shopping through, they're all gonna have their own rules, their own guidelines, their own processes. So it's a little difficult to be aware of like every single business's standards and practices. Some of them do all of their sales through live streams, while others just do it just through static Instagram posts. Some accounts will direct you to their website. Some of them will do invoicing. Some of them it's a little bit of a mixture of both. Others it's almost like you're doing an auction at an auction house. So you say that you're sold on the item and that is your commitment to buy. But my main tip is to just like ask beforehand, not necessarily in the moment, just so you can be aware of like the practices and how this business runs and how you can actually purchase the item that you're looking for. Because a lot of the time you miss out because you don't know the rules. To be very honest, it's not my favorite shopping method because I find it to be like a bit like harried and stressful. Some people love it. It's just too many rules to know. I like things for things to be easy. Regarding authenticity and safety, that's a really big thing because Instagram is a very big place. Everyone now, and within the last few years especially, is using Instagram in ways that it wasn't like initially designed for. So that's why we're kind of in the Wild West when it comes to it. There are a lot of great and reputable sellers. I can recommend some and leave them linked down below. There's also a lot of like straight up counterfeiters on Instagram. It really depends on like what kind of waters you're swimming in on Instagram because there is a lot of both. With Instagram, I would definitely recommend authentication, definitely recommend like, references, look at their customer testimonials, and I'm gonna have another video soon about like things that you should look for in sellers. Yeah, it's a big thing to tackle, so, and it's complicated and there's like a lot of different things to know. So just overall, try to know the rules for the specific account that you want to shop with, and most of them tend to either have a website or do invoicing directly for the items. So there's that. I think it's only gonna get more popular. Let me know if this is something that you guys are into, if you have any idea at all what I'm talking about. Instagram sellers exist, and some of them are really, really good. Some of them are not. So I don't know, that's all I got. I feel like I've talked a lot. I feel like that was a lot of information. If you guys want to chat about this in the comments, if there's anything you feel like I could have possibly missed, then please comment that down below. Let me know if these little tips for all of these selling platforms were helpful. Like, some of them you want to be on their email list. Some of them, the email list you can skip, if I'm being completely honest. Let me know, what are your favorite online selling platforms for designer items? Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm really excited in 2022 to help you guys with your authentication needs, and I will have more announcements on that to come. For now, you can just send me an email and I'll be happy to assist you through there. But big things on the horizon, really excited, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.